Hi everyone, today I'm going to give you my honest and thorough review of FITCAMX's OEM style front 4K dash cam for my 2018 F60 Mini Countryman that actually fits other F-Series minis like the Cooper and Clubman. I'll go over what's in the box, features, installation, the app overview, some personal footage, and my honest critique sprinkled in throughout. Spoiler alert! It isn't perfect, but I love it. Also, just letting you know that FITCAMX has sent me this for free to give my honest review to you all with an ability to give an affiliate link with 8% off if you decide to buy through the link. They aren't paying me or even being able to see this footage before it is released. And while making this review, I told them that I was going to be very critical of the product, and they said, go ahead and do that honestly, since they welcome all feedback with an open mind and are striving to make great products with continuous improvement. This is something we should all appreciate from brands. So, getting to what's inside of the pretty nice packaging, there are two boxes, one for the camera and the other for accessories. And it's actually nice of them to have the manual in there. Some manufacturers don't even have that and just send you to a website for it. Inside the accessories box, we have a pry tool, an SD card reader, which I used a lot, and the new wiring harness that goes into the rainfall sensor to make wiring simple and minimalistic. More on this later. In the dash cam box, we obviously got the nice OEM style dash cam with the 64GB micro SD card already installed, which the camera supports up to 256, and each 64 is about 5 hours of record time, by the way. Also, unexpectedly, they gave me a suction phone mount. Not something I need, but it's appreciated. Now, getting into installation, we first need to split the dash cam in half. It may seem a little difficult since you'll need a decent amount of force showing how secure it is, but be patient and persistent. If you have some trouble, you can try detaching some of the latching points on one end so you don't have to fight all the latches at once. You can try to free some by either lifting up slightly or poking through the hole while trying to split it, though some may be hard to reach. I know it's a little hard to see since it's black, but the square hoop latches over the triangular bump. Once you have that apart, take the wiring harness and plug it into the camera. Luckily, they took all the guesswork out since everything only fits in one way. Now let's go to the car and remove the housing. It's actually as easy as shown in their tutorial. Take the plastic side of the trim tool and push and twist at the center seam towards the front of the windshield to split the plastic. Once you feel some separation, you can just pull it apart. Similar but easier than shown before pulling apart the dash cam. Now that we got it off, you can truly appreciate FITCAMX's OEM style housing because it mimics the latching style from MINI. On top of that, you can compare the plastic quality and feel of the OEM and FITCAMs. It's that hard plastic, but it feels really sturdy, so you know you're not going to crack it or flex it. The look, the latching mechanism, feel, and thickness match Minis, so I do appreciate that attention to detail. Now with one finger on each side of the mirror, detach the reddish connection of the rainfall sensor. Take that and plug into the new wiring harness. Again, I appreciate that they made the connections very straightforward and nearly color matched to eliminate the guesswork. Once you have it hooked up, see on the side if any of the LEDs light up. If not, turn on the car, but not the engine. Now get into the app so we can test if it works before fully installing it. If you don't have the app, you can get it in your app store, or they do have a QR code to it in the manual. Once you get into the app, hit connect and you will connect to the camera through Wi-Fi. Find it, it should be starting with car or LHD. Password is 1 through 8, and after connecting, get back to the app and you should be able to see the live camera feed. Don't forget to pull off the sticker like me. Take a quick picture by hitting the camera button to make sure both the camera and memory card is working. You can check by going into the camera file and the snapshot tab. If you have the image there, I think that should be good enough to prove it works. So let's get back into the install. I'll go over the app a little more later. So installing the Dashcam is not as easy as they make it seem in their tutorial for this model type specifically. Sorry my camera cut out towards the end of the install, but I'll talk you through some tips to make it easier. Most of the difficulty revolves around the fact that it's a little hard to see and work around the mirror itself, so you will want to actually go sit on the opposite side of the Dashcam and work on only one half of the fixture first before snapping the other half together. You will want to try and line up the housing so that the stem cutout is as close as you can get it to the windshield. Then the windshield part of the housing can wrap around the mirror base with the rest of the wiring out of the way towards the open side. When it's secure, it should feel so when you tug it towards you. Don't move it too much since it could be annoying to get it into that position again. Next thing you will need to do is fit all the wiring there, which leads to another annoying thing with this install. The wiring, in my opinion, is excessively long and bulky, so it makes it a little tougher to tuck in. I think if this camera was only made for this car, then the bulky plug that you can't bend wouldn't be here and go straight into the other connections, and the wires wouldn't be so long. I think it's this way so that other cars and fixtures can use the same camera, but use different connections at the end. It makes sense from a business and manufacturing standpoint for that adaptability, which makes it slightly inconvenient for us, but at least we will only be dealing with this once. So the tips to tuck in this wiring, in my experience, is to only have the wiring coming out of the car in the stem part at the top, and tuck and fold the rest into the round lower section towards you. It all doesn't have to fit in this half since you haven't snapped the other half of the body back in yet, so there's still room there. Once you generally have things laid out, line up the other half of the body and snap it into place. If you have it correctly installed, it should feel secure. I didn't experience any wiggle or movement at all, so I'm very impressed with it. Finally, we're all done. Now getting back to the app, it's actually very simple and straightforward, which I appreciate. On the main menu, you can hit connect to get to the camera if you're already connected. Here, you will get the live feed. You can pause the camera, take a photo, check what's on the SD card, and the camera settings. Getting into the settings, again, it's very straightforward and self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. I turn on the sound recording just because any more data points for evidence could be helpful. I'm keeping the photo and video resolution at the highest setting. I changed the video duration to 3 instead of 1. So take your pick between more but shorter videos or longer and less videos. Exposure compensation, I'm not messing with. Watermark, I'm sure you'll always want it on. WDR is wide dynamic range, I think. I have tried toggling this off, but it always seems to revert back on. Maybe it's just the way this camera operates all the time. So for collision sensing, which locks videos depending on the G sensor, I first changed it to high, but later changed it to medium because it was saving too many uneventful drives on my first day using it. Even after changing it to medium, a small amount of uneventful drives were saved, I think due to big dips in the road and train tracks. So I eventually moved it down to low sensitivity. You will need to calibrate this to your car on how you drive, the road conditions, or suspension setup. You can check after your drives to see if there are videos locked up in the camera file menu and locked tab. Collision detection sensitivity for parking, I'll leave off since this isn't the version to do that. You will need the hardwired version where I just chose the rainfall sensor one. Moving on, we got Wi-Fi settings and more. According to the manual, you will want to format the card every 2 to 3 months, so I'm just doing it here for the first time. Back in the camera file menu will be everything on the SD card. The constant loop of overriding videos, pictures you took, ones you manually lock by pressing the button, or automatically locked by the G sensor. Alright, I just pressed the button and see what happened. And again, parking doesn't apply to us. Download or watch any videos you want here. I tested downloading and it is a bit slow, but I think in case of an accident, you will likely only need to download one video since accidents only occur in a matter of seconds anyway. Going back to the first menu, album is where the items you downloaded off the SD card will be saved. The last menu of more with the app settings is straightforward. Language, date format, and offline map, which I couldn't figure out what that was and wasn't even doing anything for me. Now that's everything in the app. Moving on to the footage, I did some initial tests just to check its baseline capability. First thing I did here was just see how far it could clearly read a plate at a standstill with its 160-degree field of view camera. Each parking spot is about 9 feet wide, and I did increments of half a space, so approximately 4.5 feet. From straight ahead, I could see up to about 31 feet. From about one lane over, I could see up to about 27 feet. From approximately 2 lanes over, it was about the same. Going over to nighttime, this one obviously did not do better and will be more dependent on your style of headlight, which I have LED. And if I had a reflective plate instead of this dummy one, it could help or it could not, since I found this camera does not do well in bright situations. More on this later. From straight ahead, I could see up to 27 feet due to too much light. From about one lane over, it was about the same. From approximately 2 lanes over, I couldn't really see it, being out of the headlight zone and removing my bias of already knowing what it says. Doing a different test, I'm testing to see how well it could read at speed differentials. I did increments of 10, 20, and 30 miles per hour at about 1 to 2 lanes away. I know 20 or 30 miles per hour is a bit extreme if you're doing the speed limit and someone flies by you that much faster, but I did it anyway. At 10 miles per hour, it was readable. At 20 miles per hour, it was still readable. And at 30 miles per hour, it was also still readable to my surprise. Again, checking the same at night, at 10 miles per hour, I couldn't see anything. So I already knew at higher speeds, it wouldn't succeed. And that definitely was the case. All these previous tests are just to give an idea of what the camera is capable of at these relative speeds of 0 to 30 miles per hour. So keep in mind that doing it at higher speeds will probably yield worse results due to more ride undulation. Now let's check out some more real-world footage. During the day, I find the footage to be quite acceptable. Not the clearest, but acceptable. At far distances, it will struggle to see much detail, and the same goes for situations with high speed differences. I think a higher frame rate like 60 instead of 30 could help with this. Surprisingly, driving towards the sun, I was able to pick up some detail. Where the camera really struggles, and I mentioned this earlier, is bright situations. When there's too much light, especially on white cars and the sun beaming from our back on them, it just gets blown out. White in shade or not too sunny conditions is fine. Similarly, at night, when my LED headlights hit those reflective plates, it's too much to read. In some light situations, it's fine, but I wouldn't expect it to be better than during the daytime. You're more dependent on your own and other people's lights. And again, what I demonstrated during my speed differential test is that speed differences make it harder to capture detail. Going into my concluding thoughts, although I have no dashcam experience and only seen them as a viewer for entertainment, I still think I can give some good insight to FITCAMX's dashcam as a consumer. Coming from no camera, I have a mindset that something is better than nothing. Although I pointed out that bright or low light conditions or far away objects will lose detail, like where other cameras would also struggle with, not only this one, there's still data to be extracted from the video. How I see it is that anything close to you can be seen. Anything further is probably not involved with you, or it's a hit and run driver. Even if you get the license plate in most of the video frames, you can still probably find it in one video frame. You can also still extract the car model color, and if the other party is compliant and pulls over, you could still get the license then, and even the driver getting out of the car. On top of that, the audio recording from the camera may record your narration of what just occurred or even the conversation happening right outside the car. Sure, the camera quality is just acceptable, but it still gives you data that can save you from that he said, she said. From what I've seen, there are worse cameras and there are better, but at this price with the form factor, I find it as a value. For myself, and I think my main audience of car owners that like to keep the inside of their cars clutter-free, we really value this OEM Plus look. Not only did they nail the look, but FITCAMX nailed the feel of the plastic too. Something you can appreciate more in your hands. The install may be a little finicky, but my tips should make that a little easier for you. And you only deal with this once. And with the install, you don't have to run a long cable to try to hide it. If you are the type of person to hide cables, using a different type of camera and taking some interior panels off could be more annoying than this install also, just to maintain that clean look. And even then, the conventional type of dash cam would look janky just floating on the windshield. If not on the driver's side because it hides behind the mirror, then it would be floating on the passenger side. So I think it's pretty genius of them to utilize the rain sensor to power the camera. Very incognito and probably the most ideal dash cam location. And even though it uses the rain sensor, the ability to use that sensor is still there. I tested it working before and after the install, and the feature still remains. When it comes to my line of sight, it looks like it only comes down about 1 centimeter more below the mirror. And it's off to the side, so I could still see other cars and pedestrians no problem. Not really obstructing my view at all. Matter of fact, by the second day driving around, I kind of forgot it was there until I remembered I had to review this product. On top of that, this is my wife's car, and she never figured out for herself that it was there. I had to tell her. Going back to powering it, I also found that it starts recording about 10 seconds after the car wakes up. That means whenever you interact with the car, like unlocking it or opening the trunk, power starts going to the rain sensor, so it should start recording before you even take off. And I even found that it was still recording up to 3 minutes after I locked the car too. Just keep in mind that this may vary from car model to model, as I don't know when other cars will wake up or sleep when you interact with it. Getting to the app, I find it very simple and easy to use. After your first time connecting, it will be a lot quicker accessing the camera since the Wi-Fi connection is already saved. I will only need to get into the app to set some settings, which I don't need to do often at all, and hopefully you don't have to come here often either to download a video. All straightforward, which I appreciate. If FITCAMX didn't send me this, would I have bought this? Yes, because my wife has been wanting a camera for a while now, but it has always been pushed aside since I didn't like the clutter created by other dash cams to pull the trigger. So I'm glad they reached out because I didn't even know this form factor existed for dash cams, and this is what I value most about FITCAMX. I know this sounds dumb, but I would rather be driving without a camera to keep my cockpit neat and clutter-free than to have one with the wiring going around, so I'm glad that this fixes that clutter problem. I find the camera acceptable and some improvements could be made there. I think that if they sourced a better camera sensor, I'd be happy to pay the upcharge on that. But I don't know the marketing or consumer psychology of people wanting to pay a higher cost or having lower quality at a lower price, or having both options. I'm not so sure and just rambling a bit. I also think they could have left out the phone holder and passed the savings on to the consumer since I wasn't really expecting it and it wasn't listed on their website as included, but it's appreciated. And if you appreciate this review and are considering purchasing one, I'd appreciate if you use my affiliate link where you can get 8% off with no code needed. If not, I still appreciate you watching and hope you learned something. Also, just make sure before you buy one that you get the correct version for your car and get the features that you want, like rear camera and parking mode, which I chose not to get. More features like those will require more to the installation process, so that's why I skipped those versions. Again, thanks for watching, and see you next time.